The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of that. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Podcast coming to you July 27th, 2025. I just realized I'm starting the show with pretty much naked right now. Naked with no information here because I forgot my outside of the outside the studio. So I'm gonna pause this real quick and then continue here. All right, I am back. I am back now. It has been such a strange week in general for me. First off, it is again July 27th, 2025. My voice still on the med. As you see here now, I'm hopefully, well, there's a lot of things I have to touch on today because we haven't done a solo show in a while. Probably, I think a week has been the last time we did a solo show. We've done a couple of shows in the last week though. Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi issues not solved as yet. We thought we had it solved. We're doing a video here right now. We'll see if it holds up. We tried to do browser. Let's see if this browser works on this one. We tried to do browser. I tried the browser on Google Chrome. Didn't work. I tried to hardwire it. Didn't work. We tried everything under the sun with the situation to do podcasts, and I attempted to do it this week. 2 shows. We did the music lounge, the launch of the music lounge, which we had to end up change in the middle of the show, having to change from the studio here we have to doing the show on my iPad because the buffering was so bad. So we did that, and then yesterday we on the False Count Anywhere pod. Myself and Rob, we did a Hulk Hogan tribute. Of course, he passed away a couple days ago. We did that last night, but we ended up doing it on the iPad because we were having issues with again the Wi-Fi. But again, I don't think it's Wi-Fi anymore because we have tried hardwiring this computer. I took this computer downstairs, literally next to the modem, and hardwired it, and we were still getting the same fucking signal, the same signal that I've been getting without the hardwire on the StreamYard. So it's either a StreamYard issue or most likely it's a computer issue, which I don't know why it's a computer issue because this computer is literally a month old. This is the RAM on this computer is pretty good. The memory's pretty good. I only use this computer solely for podcasts. I very rarely do I surf the web on this computer. So I don't know what it is. I'm getting frustrated because I have a lot of episodes I'm planning on recording this month or in August rather that I'm very excited about. That to guess that I on the iPad or take a chance and do it here. With the possibility of a buffering and the sound like absolute garbage. I mean, the finished products sound like absolute garbage. I don't know. I'm lost for words right now. I told my wife the other day. I was like, I think I might have gotten the wrong computer. I missed MacBook Pro, and I told her I may have to. I told her I think I want a MacBook. And here's the thing: yes, they're expensive, but they last a very long time. My MacBook, I told you when it shut down 15 years later. I mean, I went through multiple presidents. I went through marriage, my entire marriage so far, 2 kids and whatnot, and that computer still worked until its dying day. So we might have to go that route again. We may have to consider going into the MacBook route again, just because it's safer for me. And quite frankly, I prefer Apple's over our interface. But like I said, we'll continue plugging away and figure out the issue. We will figure out the issue. Come hell or high water, we will figure it out. With that, as I said, my throat is a little sore, as you guys know. On those shows I also did this week. Also, I did those shows under like not forget the fact that I was frustrated with the computer issues, but also on top of that now, I've had a sore throat, a coughing issue for the last week or so, really last month, honestly. And it turned out going to the doctor on Friday, my chiropractor again, and who's also a nutritionist and everything else. Shout out to Kevin Uzri, my fantastic doctor. He knew right away it was lung infection. He knew by me working on my arms, working on my, just adjusting me. He knew right away that my issue was a lung infection. So nothing serious. He has me on a little bit of meds to kind of alleviate the situation. It is getting a little better now. It's actually gotten better since Friday. I had to leave work early actually on Friday. I actually worked a couple hours on Friday and had to leave early because I had a coughing attack on 2 separate occasions doing my job, and it was so embarrassing. Like, no, I got to get out of here. And I went to work yesterday. I got through a couple hours of that, which is fine. Today I was going to try to go to work tonight, but I was like, you know what, let me just rest today and have a clean slate this week. Hopefully by tomorrow, I should be as close to 100% as possible. We'll see how that plays out, obviously, but it's been very frustrating on this end. But we press on. We press on. I'm also gotta tell you, I need to calm down. I've been going nuts, this summer. I've kind of been inconsistent with the workouts and the eating and whatnot, and I gained a couple pounds as of late. I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna make my wife for this, but she makes a fantastic buffalo chicken dip that she started doing early in the year. And I've become very obsessed with it to the point where after this last batch she made, I told her, you know what, this is it. We're not having any more of this in the house until football starts. This will be great for me on Sundays for football season when it starts. But for the time being, I can't have this in the house anymore. Her and I are trying. We'll go to New York next month for a week. We're going to go there, and we're trying to, eat good so we can have fun in New York. And it's not really smart for us to do this. It's not smart for us to be eating this shit, all the time in the house. And she even said herself, it's my fault, honestly, because she's been saying that, she didn't want to make the last couple batches of buffalo chicken dip, but she did for me because I've been craving it. But it's not that's bad for you because it's actually a very healthy dip. There's no sugar in it, none of that. But there's cheese in there, and not that dairy is bad, but for her, she is actually going through where she's doing 0 carbs, 0 dairy, the whole 9. And she's trying to lose as much weight as possible, healthy as possible before the trip to New York. And we'll see. Like I said, she made this past batch on Monday, and I told her this is the last batch. After this batch, I'm not asking again until football season starts. Now, when football starts, I will like to have that dip every single weekend for football. But that being said, the dip is fantastic, man. You guys need to try. I know a couple of my friends have tried the dip recently. We can make some for a couple friends of mine. They absolutely love the dip as well too. And so yeah, but it's pretty. I'm pretty obsessed with it right now. Pretty obsessed with the dip, and we'll see. Obviously, I finished the last batch last night. That's it for me for a while. No more. No more for me. What else? So this episode's called "The Week of Loss" because let me cough real quick. Yeah, there we go. We had a lot of major names in the industry, whether it be in Hollywood, in music, in pro wrestling, and we've lost a lot of big names this week for different set of reasons. We started the week this week with Malcolm Jamal-Warner, of course, is the you guys know him. He's an actor. Passed away age 54 rather, in an accidental drowning in Costa Rica on Sunday. He was on vacation with his family and was swimming at Playa Cockles in Lyman province when a powerful current swept him away. Bystanders on the beach rescued him and brought him to the shore, but first responders from Costa Rica's Red Cross found him without vital signs. Authorities confirmed that his official cause of death was asphyxiation by submersion. Of course, we know he's famously known as Theo Huxtable on the Cosby Show, but also did a lot of great things in the industry, in addition to playing Theo on Cosby. He was a director. He was obviously acting on other movies and TV shows through the years. Obviously not as prominent as Cosby, but given the fact that Cosby Show is arguably the biggest sitcom in the history of television. You're setting a high bar there. Director, a poet, a great man, a great father, from what we've been told. A very tragic loss. And, if you're an 80s kid, obviously, I was raised on Cosby. I remember being up, every Thursday morning, every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock, every Thursday watching that show. This is the days before on demand. If you want to watch an episode of Cosby Show, you have to be there in front of your TV at 8 o'clock. This is back in the days where, like, today these kids don't get it. Like, they want to, they feel like, okay, well, I can watch the show later on. It's on demand. Back to you have on demand. Either you were on front of your TV, or B, you would be recording it on your VCR and hopefully catching after. So very, very tragic loss, and very heartfelt by the community, of course, and people. And then the next day we find out that Ozzy Osbourne passes away, age 76. Now this one's less of a shock because we actually did an episode on this show about 3 weeks ago, paying tribute to Black Sabbath, who did their very last show with Ozzy. This past 3 weeks ago, we reviewed the show. I told you guys on that podcast that watching Sabbath's set and watching Ozzy perform, it didn't feel like just a goodbye for Sabbath and whatnot, and them exiting stage right as a band. And watching Ozzy Osbourne that night, it felt like an actual goodbye overall. Because, as you know, he's had Parkinson's since 2020. He's had other health issues. This is a guy that redefined heavy metal. Quite frankly, he created heavy metal, as far as I'm concerned. Him and Black Sabbath, massive influence on me, especially to Jesus Butler, most notably because I'm a bass player. And if you guys know Ozzy's story, Ozzy Osbourne should have been dead a long time ago. Let's keep it real. If you hear all the war stories of Ozzy Osbourne on the road, his drug issues, substance abuse issues, you name it. The fact that Ozzy Osbourne really made it 76 years old is a testament to his survival. And of course, you see Ozzy in his later years. They do the MTV show, The Osbournes, in 2002, and for a couple of years, by a show I watched religiously then when it came on. Ozzy was a very good man. I mean, you hear the stories from people. You look at this guy's all the Prince of Darkness. This guy's a Satanist and all this stuff. He's not. No, the guy was actually a very good man who just lived his life the way he wanted to. He was loyal to his wife, Sharon, and his kids. A doting father, husband, even with their struggles. Ozzy and Sharon is one of my favorite couples, to watch and see. I know there was some little tiff a couple years ago where Ozzy reportedly cheated on Sharon, but they reunited a year later, redo the vows or something like that, and they were soulmates. That was very sad, obviously, and I remember hearing the I was in the gym actually. This was weird though. The day that Ozzy's announcement came in, I was literally walking my daily 2-mile walk, and I played one of his songs, "No More Tears." This is literally a half an hour before the news came in that he had passed away. Then I called my mom, and my mom, we went on the phone for a little bit, and she's like, they come in threes. So Malcolm Jamal-Warner died yesterday. Ozzy Osbourne died today. She goes, "What's coming threes?" And I hate that saying, but I get it. And I told her, don't be surprised if Hulk Hogan's next. Don't be surprised Hulk Hogan's next. And she asked why. I go, yeah, well, he's gonna have some health issues and stuff, and there's been a lot of reporting, recently in wrestling media about Hogan. His health is not doing very well, but then he had Jimmy Hart come out and say that he's doing okay now and whatnot. There's been a lot of conflicting reports about Hulk Hogan. Then Thursday morning, I go to the beach. I go to the beach on Thursday morning with my kids, and I get a text from our own Big Jim Neese, who's a regular on our podcast. And he texted me with the TMZ announcement that Hulk Hogan passed away. I'm like, Jesus. Really? Really? And obviously we won't deep dive here because we literally just recorded an episode on Hulk Hogan and his legacy on the False Count Anywhere pod. We just recorded yesterday. Check it out. So it's the episode for this one. And we discussed Hogan's legacy and whatnot. And again, there's a lot of tortured feelings about that because Hulk Hogan is a childhood hero of mine. He's the reason I watch wrestling to this day. Him and Andre, WrestleMania 3, was the monumental moment that started my addiction to pro wrestling. You know, Hulk Hogan also has a very controversial 10, 15 years. In addition to everything else we know about Hogan backstage and politicking, which, by the way, it's not necessarily exclusive to him because every star does that. So it's not Hulk Hogan didn't start or end politicking and behind the scenes. But Hulk Hogan's, and I'm not even saying alleged because I ain't alleged, is to racism, saying the N-word on tape, being caught on tape saying the N-word, which WWE fired him as a result for that. And it's one of those things where, like, you make a mistake, and I get that. But are you sincere? Were you sincere about it? And he never really apologized. Like, he did apologize, yes, but it didn't feel genuine. I know there's stories that he went to the locker room in recent years, spoke to black wrestlers behind the locker room, and they come back and said that it didn't feel like it was genuine. He felt more surfing and caught what he said. Look, I know he gave us like the Christ in recent years, which is good to hear. At the end of the day, he's God's issue now. Like, whatever misgivings we all may have of Hogan, and I said on the pod yesterday that it felt very uncomfortable watching all the reaction to Hogan and the good riddance and all that. And the thing is, I can't blame critics and writers for feeling what they feel about Hogan and what he's done and what he said, and still feeling offended by the guy. I'm not going to tell you how to feel, but I'm not going to lie to you. It does feel a little bit disrespectful to react this way to someone who is also a father and a husband, and see, this is someone. And how we may feel about that, it feels uncomfortable. Like, there's a lot of people writing things about Hogan in the media, writers, and they want to get their 2 cents in, and I get that. And for the record, it's not to say you're not wrong, because you are correct on this, but it's the timing. I felt the same way about Kobe Bryant 5 years ago. A lot of people want to get their clicks in and get their thoughts in because they think it matters. But to me, I always feel like there's a time for everything. There'll be a time to reflect on this in a real way. But there's people who are really hurt. There's people who also love Hogan who are very hurt by this passing. And we need to respect people's wishes too, and their thoughts. I feel like we as a society have really, really devalued life in a big way. And again, I am not saying not to feel the way you feel, because I have those same feelings about Hogan too also. It is torture in some ways because I still love watching his work. I still, even after the stuff came on the tape, I still watch his work. And I will continue to watch his work because, again, I'm a wrestling fan. But I'm also good at separating the two. And maybe it's just me and maybe I'm naive, and that's fine. You can have that opinion about me, that's fine. But, do you think Hogan's a racist? Only God knows, dude. I mean, the comments don't help his case, but only God knows, dude. I'm not God. Take up a God. If you believe in God and you think that God is the be all and all, and you think that his word and he forgives, that's his issue now. And then another death that came in this week, that came in under the radar, but someone I admire as a child. Chuck Mangione, jazz musician, composer, trumpetist, passed away age 84. Chuck Mangione's a guy I listened to a lot as a kid. My mother got me into him as a child. I own a couple of his cassettes. A genius, a musical genius, another one. So you had 4 people who have impacted me as kids. Ozzy was probably a little bit later because I got Ozzy and Sabbath in my teen years. But the other 3 guys, Chuck Mangione, Hulk Hogan, Malcolm Jamal-Warner, people who I've been fans of since I was a child. So if you're an 80s kid right now, man, you are really feeling it right now. You're feeling it, and you're feeling it in a big way in this last week. And again, I talk a lot about on this show about mortality, how it scares me. And then you have these passings. It really brings that full circle. It's just weird, man. It's weird how life is. 1 minute you're here, next minute you're gone. Not some of these passings were not shocking because Hogan was sick for a while. Ozzy's been sick for a while, but Malcolm Jamal-Warner was not sick, as far as we know. Chuck Mangione, I don't know his situation, but he's 84 years old, so he's definitely on the older end. But it shows you how precious life is, and I wish people can value that in every day and every minute, every second of life while we have it. So rest in peace to all four of those gentlemen. However you may feel about them. They are still God's child. Bottom line. All right, a couple of things I missed in the last week. Stephen Colbert, CBS Stephen Colbert, the Stephen Colbert Show will be ending in May 2026, according to sources. The late show's been canceled by CBS. CBS has stated that the decision was purely for financial reasons, citing a challenging backdrop in late night and the show's unprofitability despite its high ratings. However, the timing of the announcement, which came shortly after a legal settlement between CBS's parent company Paramount and President Donald Trump, has led to speculation and questions from some observers, including politicians like Senator Adam Schiff. Stephen Colbert announced news to this audience during the taping on Thursday, July 17th, stating that this next year will be the show's last season. He expressed gratitude to CBS and the audience. According to reports, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert was reportedly losing CBS more than $40 million a year. The show had a budget of over $100 million per season. This financial drain, coupled with the general decline in advertising revenue for late-night television, was cited by CBS as the purely financial reason for the cancellation. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think CBS is bullshit. Okay? I think there's two answers here. Were they losing money with Stephen Colbert? Yes. Was this a financial decision? Yes. Did CBS come under pressure from the President of the United States? Also, yes. I mean, you can't tell me anything else. Okay? Bottom line, you can't tell me anything else. Okay? It can both be correct here. And I get a lot of arguments with people like, oh, it's solely because of this reason. But yet, they are losing money. And for the record, late night TV, not as profitable as it used to be. No one really watches these shows anymore. The ratings have gone down for a lot of reasons. Not just because of, of partisanship. That's part of it. The partisan nature of the shows, but also people don't watch media or consume media the same way that we did 10, 20, 30 years ago. Things are changing. And Stephen Colbert and his staff, he hires I think it's 100 people who work on their staff. It's a lot of money, even though, yes, Stephen Colbert was the highest rated late night show today, it doesn't mean they were turning a big profit. But I also agree that when you combine that with the situation with Donald Trump and the pressure with Paramount wanting to merge and the president saying, basically adding pressure that, the merger, him holding influence rather, preventing a merger, that played a part as well. And probably even a larger part. But both can be right here. That's all I'm saying. Okay. But for CBS to sit here and say that it was solely because economics, it's complete fucking horseshit. And I don't believe you, CBS. You're full of shit. Trust me in that. You're full of shit. Okay, unbelievable. Stephen Colbert will be. I agree. Well, he will end up being on another show, another station, another platform down the road. I do see that happening at some point. So there's that. All right. Also, there's been some rumors as of late that Metallica may be playing at the Sphere in Las Vegas in 2026. Nothing official yet, but you guys know the Sphere, the new building opened last year. You guys remember a year ago, I had my friend Boston Jack came on the show because he was going to the opening night of the Sphere to see U2 in concert. They were the first band to open the Sphere. The Sphere, of course, is a building, a venue with a nice, like, it's really special. Like the way it's set is like a globe, and there's a nice light show, whatever, but and bands play there and all that. And I've always said I would go to the Sphere if the right act plays there. There's only two acts I've said that I would definitely go to see at the Sphere in Las Vegas. One is Tool, of course, which, by the way, that setup is made for them, and then Metallica. And we've heard rumors through the last couple months that Metallica and the Sphere have already been trying to negotiate a residency there. But what I've heard is, I don't even know if this is true or not, but one of the things I've heard is that Metallica wants to do only weekends, and the Sphere would like them to play weekdays as well too. Metallica mainly plays weekends. when they tour, because of that's what the touring schedule now does. They do Friday and Sundays. Occasionally a weekday here and there, depends on this touring schedule. But for the most part, they play weekends, and I mean, the guys in their 60s now. They don't do things the same way, as they did like 20 years ago. So the rumors is from a good source that they are closing on a deal to play the Spirit in 2026. So I'm ready. You already know. I'm ready to save money for this thing. I'm ready. My wife's not going to go because she says she's not a fan. I told her, you're staying home. I'm going to see this thing come hell high water by myself with friends. I don't give a shit. I will be there when Metallica plays the Spirit. So I'm ready to put money away for this thing because I have to be there to see these boys play in this venue. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll see. There's no official news yet on this, but it's saying 2026. I would imagine if they were to announce this, say in the next like couple weeks, you got to get at least 6 months to a year out. So I would say this will probably start happening probably in the spring, earliest spring, honestly. Because and I tell you what, this thing will probably sell out pretty quickly because Metallica is not just they're a worldwide band, so there'll be a lot of fans who are willing to travel from outside the country to come see these guys. So I hope this happens. I'm excited. I'm putting my money away for this thing because I want to be there for this thing. I cannot wait. All right, finally, if I get out of here, because my throat is faint right now. My voice is really cracking. But I am returning to playing fantasy football this year after 6 years off. You guys know in my day job, I also co-host a podcast at my day job, and we are putting together a fantasy football team. In fact, we're supposed to be doing a live draft, I think next month on the show. So because of that alone, I have decided that, okay, well, for the sake of the team, all that, I will return to fantasy football this year. Now, I don't think I'll do any other leagues with this one, honestly, because one of the things about fantasy football I did not enjoy 30 years is that it always felt overwhelming to me doing fantasy. When I had 3 teams at the time and whatnot, and having to dot over my my lineups every other day and waiver wire and all this crap. My ADHD, my brain space for stuff is so limited now. I have enough going on at home with my family, this podcast, and other stuff outside of that. So me doing fantasy football is like another nuisance. However, for the sake of the team and for the sake of my friends and my coworkers, we're going to do this together this year. It should be a lot of fun. It's probably going to be a free league, I'm sure. And I'm gonna try to stay on top of it. And maybe, who knows, maybe by doing this, I'll end up enjoying it again, But yes, I am returning this year to playing fantasy football after 6 years away. So anyway, that's it for me. My throat is sore, so let me stop this podcast right now. Earnestly Podcast, of course, all podcast catchers. I am on X at EJ Christian 7. If this thing can work, one more time. Oh, sorry about that. There we go. It didn't work. Okay. All right, Earnestly Podcast, all podcast catchers, each for 7 on Twitter. The podcast also you can find as well on YouTube, at Earnestly Pod, as well as Instagram and TikTok. Until the next episode, we will talk to you guys soon. God bless y'all, and let's hope the video side of this thing actually worked out well. All right, love you guys. Take care and see ya.